Brought to you by NJM.
Steve Adubato here. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce two of the most distinguished broadcast journalists in the state and in the nation. First, Michael Aron. He's called the Dean of the State House Correspondents. He's the chief political correspondent at NJTV News. Also, Jim McQueenie, host of New Jersey Now on My 9. That's it. Look at you guys. All right, let me ask you this. You've covered every political convention since?
1988.
And you?
1980.
All right, so that makes how many?
These two this summer were 15 and 16.
And you?
This summer was my 13th.
All right, so here's a question. How has political journalism changed, covering politics in the last X number of years?
Fewer of them covering it, and those that cover it you don't see in what are called the media villages. They're almost like Bedouin tents set around the convention sites outside the arenas and the like. And not too long ago, maybe even 6-8 years ago, it was packed to the gills with people. But first of all, the journalists are not really in those places anymore because those places don't exist anymore in many cases because of newspapers being consolidated and people going by the wayside. Where you see the coverage a lot of times is actually with cell phones, iPads, people in the street on beanbags and other places like coffee shops near the arena. And they're where the action is a lot of times, the protests and things like that happen outside or at the delegation hotels. It has completely changed inside out. Fewer people, and very less logistical. There's usually some person with a hand cam covering it rather than a 4 or 5 man crew.
What do you see, Mike?
On a daily basis, one of the things that has struck me is how easily you can access anything on the internet to put into a package. Any political speech, our young guys at NJTV, they know which search engine to go to, and I can order up. Can you get me that time that Trump or Christie said X or Y, and within an hour or two, it's available. At a convention, I think what's different is, as Jim suggests, technology has radically altered how we cover conventions. A lot of people are using phones to do interviews. I did a couple of Facebook Live things. I followed a Bernie Sanders protest up and down South Broad Street in Philadelphia for well over an hour, narrating what I was seeing and interviewing people along the way. That was a new experience for me as a journalist after 46 years
and it mattered.
As a journalist.
And that was relevant. It gave you a sense of being there. Go ahead,
Steve,
Jim.
I'll give you another example of how this happens now and how different it is. About 10 minutes before I was supposed to go on the air on the floor of the convention hall, my field producer, who only had a perimeter pass, wasn't allowed to get in. I was shooting with an iPad live back to New York in 10 minutes. I had no one to hold it, right? I asked the mayor of Wyckoff, New Jersey, who was sitting in the New Jersey delegation,
right.
do you know how to use an iPad? Answer, yes. Can you hold this for me? We're going to broadcast back to New York in 6 minutes like this. And the nice guy that he was, he held it there like he was holding up the free world for 10 minutes. And I said, we're done. He goes, oh, I felt like I was part of the media.
And that could never have happened just a few years ago.
No, it could not have happened. And a lot of people do it this way as well. And I actually don't see the difference between what gets put out by the production of satellite windows, which we used to do and you still may do, and what can be put up from an iPhone or an iPad.
You don't think quality is different? The quality of the content.
The quality is still there, but I've just got to talk about this satellite business for a second.
Right.
We used to use trucks. We used to have to rent
the big truck,
or the
not
big
cheap.
truck to send a signal up to a satellite and get it home.
Right.
The truck is now worn on the back of the cameraman / editor. These guys carry an awful lot of gear, or women.
Right.
This we use something called a live U, and it beams the signal right back to home base, anywhere. You can, if we didn't make it into the convention hall by 5:30 when the news starts.
That's right.
You stop in the street wherever you are, and you fire up. You take the thing off your back, you fire it up, and you do a live shot.
I saw their crew, by the way. We were at the same hotel.
The NJTV crew.
The NJTV crew. And I came back after a jog, and they were getting on the bus with their crew, 6 people,
8 total in 2 vans.
And they looked like the airline crew that was getting on a bus to the airport here, right?
Right.
And I even said afterwards, and it's by no means a criticism, they do a great job, right? And Michael, of course, is the dean. But I looked at it and I thought, I just finished 4 hours ago with a live thing with an iPad in my hand, and they have an airport crew going, and there is the difference, and they're light compared to the way some of the networks
Hold on,
used to do
but
it.
no, I'm not plugging just because they're our partners in NJTV. But you had several reporters there putting out lots of stories every day.
We had 3 reporters,
Right.
One of whom shot her own stuff.
Her own stuff.
Brianna Vannozzi, yes. The younger people shoot their own stuff. I don't know how they do it. I wouldn't be able to do it if my life depended upon it.
But they're trained that way.
They're trained that way. And David Cruz was with me. He's of my generation or a little bit younger. And he needs a cameraman.
Yeah.
I need a cameraman. But Brianna Vannozzi, who must be about 30 or in her 20s, shoots her own stuff, as do all of our younger reporters at NJTV.
Let me ask you guys this bigger picture question. We're doing this in this late summer of 2016, going into the presidential. We'll run it as many times as we can, right? Here's my question. Do you think the American public is as, quote, interested in politics in the way we're interested in politics, or are they interested in something else, Jim?
They're interested in politics, and it's how we define politics in the media. We often say, oh, here's the politics of a presidential election. Here's the politics of an issue on the Hill. Everybody has politics, from PTA politics to family politics, everything. They do follow it in many more diversified ways than was ever in our time.
Right.
And the interest levels you'll find are actually as acute as they ever were, more than they ever were, but they're satiated in many more different ways than they ever were. There's not a place that you go to, ABC, NBC, CBS, right now to get it. You get it from so many different platforms, and it makes you think a little more. I don't view this as a real bad thing for America, that they're getting such diversified and polarized. No, I don't, because it lets them really take the hard issues and talk more about it with
Michael,
other people.
hold on, sorry for interrupting. Michael, do you think people are in large part getting the information, other than watching NJTV, which we have no particular point of view clearly? Do you think a large number of people are watching what it is they want to watch to reinforce whatever they think already?
I think that's an element out there, and that's why I watch Fox, CNN, and MSNBC, so that I can get the range of opinion. I think there's certainly an element of going to the channel or the website that reinforces your point of view. At the same time, I agree with Jim that I think the public is, well, first of all, I think the public is fascinated by this year's presidential
Trump and
election.
Hillary, big interest.
It's Trump.
It's him.
It's him.
2 minutes. I got 2 minutes left. What is it?
It's why I can't turn the channel anytime he's giving a speech, because you don't know what's coming next, and it could be something outrageous, outlandish, suicidal politically, or it could be off a teleprompter, as it has been more and more lately.
We'll see.
And it's not as interesting when it's off a teleprompter.
The fascination with Trump is that he's taking the curve on 2 wheels. And I think Hillary is taking the road with 4 wheels, hard and high negatives, by the way, but people can't stop watching the car on 2 wheels. Does it go off the cliff?
That's right.
And he's able to keep it on 2 wheels.
Is that really politics or something else? Is that a reality show?
It is. It's the show business of politics. And Trump has brought it to an unprecedented level here. But it's also danger versus less danger, hate versus less hate. It's not exactly a referendum on likeness at all in this election.
New Jersey after Chris Christie.
There's 5, 6 Democrats positioning themselves to succeed Chris Christie. The expectation is that a Democrat will succeed a Republican governor with a 26% popularity rating, and also mainly, not because of any popularity rating, but mainly because we tend to go back and forth every 8 years. There are also a couple of Republicans eyeing it. 3 I can think of: Kim Guadagno, John Bramnick, and Jack Ciattarelli.
Whether it's
Real
one
quick, I'm
Republican...
sorry for less interesting after Chris Christie?
Yes.
Yes, Michael's going
more
yes.
interesting. No matter if it's a Republican or a Democrat, it'll be a one-term governor, because the problem is so bad. The taxes that will have to be put in place to fix what was bipartisan neglect over 2 decades will be shocking to people. It will mean a one-term governor.
Michael.
Hard to imagine the next governor being as colorful and all over the map as the current governor has been. He's been a gift to journalism.
A gift to journalism, and you say?
So long.
Oh, Jim McQueeney, Michael Aaron, two of the most distinguished and informative broadcasters, journalists. We learn every time we watch you on the air. My Nine, when can we check you out?
Sundays, noon.
And not that we ever promote public broadcasting. Michael, we can catch Michael every night on NGTV. Also, your programs On the Record and Reporters Roundtable?
Between 6 and 7 Saturday evenings, between 10 and 11 Sunday mornings, coming back after Labor Day.
Thank you, guys. We're honored by you being here.
Thanks.
My name is Carly Lloyd, and I have been with NJM since I first started driving. I'm a World Cup champion and two-time Olympic gold medalist. If I could sum up NJM in one word, it would be extraordinary.
Extraordinary means being the best at something, separating yourself from everybody else.
I love being a part of NJM. They have the best insurance out there.
Join NJM's family of policyholders today. Get a quote now at startyournjm.com.
Also brought to you by Virtua, NJ Best, New Jersey's 529 college savings plan, and by Create.